Hey guys, welcome back again with Creative Circuit 3.0. My name is Indeep and I will be with you all for the next session. Edward de Bono once said, there is no doubt that creativity is the most important human resource of all. Without creativity, there would be no progress and we would be forever repeating the same patterns. Do you ever wonder what actually goes behind the screen whenever you open an app? How the interface you interact with and the features you use are developed? Well, we have brought down some experts from the industry to tell you all about that. Joining with us today is Mr. Mino, Gallawatta, Mr. Gaveen, Nanayakkara, and Ms. Lishni Tilakaratne from Rootcode Studio.
Let me give you a brief about Rootcode Studio and where we come from. At Rootcode Studio, we specialize in everything related to UX. Starting from user experience research to UX audits, consultations, design systems to processes to everything related to user experience design. And we officially launched as Rootcode Studio this year in January. But of course, we've been part of Rootcode from the beginning of Rootcode's existence. And we've been designing for so many clients around the world, starting off from Scandinavia to Europe to Northern America. And yeah, we've been able to maybe make lives and digital experiences of end consumers of our products to have uh, great use experiences at the end of the day. And we've been able to uh, reach about millions of people through our clients. And yeah, at the end of the day, we make lives better. So, alrighty. Um, yeah. Also, by the way, when we launched Rootcode Studio, um, we had a grand vision to become the forerunner of user experience design in Sri Lanka. So, as we all know, Sri Lanka is known for becoming a great engineering destination. We have so many engineering resources, and when clients come in, they know. When foreign clients come in, they know that Sri Lanka is a great engineering destination. But when it comes to design and user experience design, they mostly look into Silicon Valley, Europe, Paris, so many other countries. But with the specialities and specializations that we bring in through Rootcode Studio, we aim to become the forerunner in making Sri Lanka a great design destination. So there you go. There's a brief about who we are and what we do. Alrighty. So, during my session, I will be giving you kind of like an introduction and an opening to what UI UX is. And I'm going to start off with a very bold statement. So, UI UX designers are in such a growing demand in today's tech heavy world. I'm not saying this only because I am a UX designer, but trust me, it's statistically proven. So, and also to add to it, I'm also going to say that, yeah, we, not they, rather we should be. So I'll come to the justification of why I'm saying this towards the end of my session, but uh, I want you guys to think about like everything around you, like some of the processes and things that are happening around you, from ordering Uber Eats, making payments. Early, it used to be money, then it turned into credit cards, and now we don't even need our cards. It's now Google Pay, Apple Pay, and so and so. And simply just take maps. nobody uses a traditional map anymore, at least maybe from the time of maybe our grandparents. I don't think maps were a thing. So yeah, Google Maps. And simply communication, right? Everything and all of these things are either in the process of being digitalized or turning into digital or already have been digital right there. And I want you to also think about, apart from the processes, about how much you use your mobile phone at the moment. Like there are so many applications that we use on a mobile phone, and some of these may be social media, some we actually use the mobile application to do some work, maybe. But there are, so let's just take communication per se. There are so many communication platforms, yeah. We have Instagram chat, we have Messenger, we have WhatsApp, we have Telegram, but WhatsApp has kind of like been the thing, yeah. I mean, we select WhatsApp for maybe convenience, maybe it's because somebody else is using WhatsApp and that's the only way of communicating. But regardless of the reason, it's somehow becoming one of the favorites, I would say. Have you ever wondered how they even got there? I mean, Instagram, all their features, Facebook, and all of its features. Well, I'm happy to say that there are a bunch of designers who are solving problems on a daily basis to get it there and make it not only usable and user friendly, but they've designed it and solved problems in such a way that you are in love with that and you can't live without it, right? Okay. So, um, for a digital product like social media apps, anything that you use around, maybe for online transactions, e-commerce sites, for any digital product to be awesome and to be great, it has to be useful, it has to be usable, and it has to be beautiful. So, I'll before I go into digital experiences, I'll take some physical experiences so that I can relate to you and I can make it an example as to what user experience actually is. I mean, I've been giving you so many examples, but let's just take a simple one. This is a very common example that all UX designers or many of the UX designers use to explain user experience, and this they have a lot of contradiction as well, but the simplest statement here is a bunch of engineers and architects at one point came up with a solution to make this paved path for a user or a passerby walker to get from point A to point B. And it works. It's completely functional, it's beautiful, but at the end of the day, the end user or the person trying to walk on top of this figured that that's not easy. They found a quicker way and an easier way to get from A to B. And that is the user's experience. So it was usable. They got from point A to point B faster. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is even though you make a great design, if you're not actually solving the problem, or if it's not a great user experience, your end consumer would never choose to use it. Yeah. And I will pick a secondary example as well for you, and that is the ketchup bottle scenario. Some of you might have actually heard this, but for those of you who haven't, I on a daily basis I find myself doing this so many times. But this is the ketchup bottle design by Heinz. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. But yeah, so when this ketchup bottle was designed, at first it was designed using glass, and uh, the cap was on top, and you have to shake it vigorously and pray to God that you do not ruin your whole meal by spreading the entire sauce or ketchup bottle on your food and ruining your whole meal. But after so much of user feedback, reviews, and so on, so this company came up with a secondary design that was made using plastic, and the lid was towards the bottom, and the branding was placed as it is, very easy to read, nothing upside down, and Just because this bottle was made in plastic, this allowed the user to squeeze the bottle and get the right amount of sauce or the ketchup, sorry, onto whatever they were eating it with. And that is actually great user experience. And as you can see, it takes so much of research, so much of problems to solutions to brainstorming. I will get to what brainstorming is, and everything else to get a product, to make a product become a great product. Yeah. All right. So now enough with the physical experiences. Let's jump into a digital experience. So I took the example of social media, but this example, I'm going to take it for TikTok. So, some of you may love this, some of you may hate it, some of you might have a love hate relationship with TikTok. I don't really know, but a majority of users are loving it. So, as of 2021 September, TikTok reached 1 billion people using it, 1 billion downloads, and now it's even more. And have you used TikTok? I hope yes. I am not exactly a user, but then again, I find it very interesting. So, for those of you who don't know TikTok, which I think is, I think everybody actually knows about it. So, TikTok provides short form content to align with very fast paced lives and short attention spans. So, I know a lot of technical jargon, but simply for people like me, it's very entertaining because I have the attention span of a goldfish, which is 10 seconds, and I lose interest. So, TikTok is a good way of keeping me focused and on track for whatever they want to show me. And TikTok became famous, became very popular, but have you ever thought as to why it happened that way? Well, it's all because of its user experience. So it's a great product, and there are so many other products who do the very same thing, but this product has the greatest user experience because so most of the products, when we design them, we try to give the choice to the user, right? But on TikTok, the elimination of choices was one of their strong points. Uh, you with the recommendation that they provide, they know what I like to see, they want to provide more of what I like to see. And also, have you ever noticed that the focus on the content, so the content covers the entire screen and I'm not diverted to anything else, right? As you can see right here. So and also one other tricky part for specific for UI UX design is the fact that as if you go through the green section, so all of the navigation points are placed in a thumb comfortable area. Yeah. So if it was a larger phone or regardless of what size the phone is, there's always a hard area to reach it. So there you go. Hard area to reach it. And then there's a stretched area and there's a very comfortable area where your thumb can easily reach. And they placed all of the navigation points and interaction points there. So yeah, these were some of the crazy things that TikTok did for their to enhance their user experience for all of the users. So there you go. Done with the examples, and now let's get into the technicalities. So um, there are so many perceived ideas about what UX design involves. Yeah. And some of you might actually think, yeah, as user experience designers, we design pretty things. We design buttons and all of that. And there's maybe some visual design, some prototyping, and maybe some testing involved. Yeah. Okay. It's true. All of that is involved. But actual user experience design is so much more than what you see on top. So what you know about is like the tip of the iceberg, but as you know, there's like so much below the iceberg. So there's user research that goes into it, user psychology, behavioral analysis. I'm going to say a lot of technical jargon, but then again, you have to know that. So there's visual design, interaction design, usability tests, tiny little animation, feedback from the phone's vibration that you get onto your hand. And mind, I'm not just saying that it's only for for phones, by the way. It's even whatever you see on screen, web, Apple phones, and regardless of the device. I won't even go into devices yet. So there's so much that goes into UX design to make a product awesome in its user experience. Yeah. Okay. Um, so as user experience designers, for us to design a great user experience for a digital product, we have to find this very fine line of when we design, we have to design it in such a way that it's easy to use. And there may be so many different types of user groups and users involved, right? And we have to fit into all of their expectations. And at Rootcode Studio, since we deal with clients, we have to meet our clients' business goals as well. So, amongst all of the other things that we do for great design, we have to design within these limitations as well. So, yeah, that's what we do. And so, to design great user experience for a digital product and to have a proper user experience for a digital product, it can either make or break a customer's experience. So I won't go into detail as to what customer experience is. It's a totally different topic. Won't be able to touch that today. But simply, what we design can make or break the product. And I brought this slide in to tell you about the fact that there are so many tech giants in the world who have foreseen the importance of user experience. Yeah, there are so many digital products, as I told you, and in one field there may be so many competing products who compete together to become the best. But these companies have already become giants in their relevant fields because they with technology, that's no question, but user experience is what brings the added value to it. And they've been investing so much in user experience. And if they're already there, there are so many other companies who are going to follow them. And if you thought that user experience designers were a niche, well, it's going to be way in demand. So I told you that I'll give you a justification as to why I opened with this sentence. And UI UX designers are in such growing demand in today's tech heavy world. And yes, they should be, they will be. Okay, so that brings us to the end of my session. Uh, and I'm going to hand over this virtual stage to Gaveen, who will talk to you and explain a lot about how UX came to be. Alrighty.
Hello. Can I share the screen? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Can everyone see? Yep,
Yep.
all good.
All good.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Gavin. Gaveen Nanayakkara. I'm a self-taught UX designer with a couple of years of experience, and I'm currently a UI UX designer at Rootcode Studio. My job, other than designing, consists of mentoring the the design team, sorry, and implementing best UX practices and the processes into Rootcode Studio. I'm completely passionate about UX, and it has come to the point where I would talk about it everywhere and anywhere. I'm here to bring light. Uh, I'm here to bring light on how UX came to be and what it takes to be part of a community of creatives that design technology for humans. So yes, let's go on. Yeah. Uh, Now I want to talk about the impact on UX design by various individuals. That's how UX really came to be. Now that Lishni has already laid the foundation of what UX really is, I'd like to clock back in time where the term UX was still to come into existence and how two individuals played a vital part on bringing it into existence. Um, one one of those individuals is considered to be one of the greatest innovators of all time, and the other who's known as the godfather of UX to us UXers. I'm going to talk about how they have impacted and influenced the way digital products that you and I use and how they are designed. So yes, um, so the first individual would be Steve Jobs. Everyone knows him. Everyone loves him. I mean, come on, yeah. Uh, no matter what device you use or prefer, where credit is due, it should be given. Steve Jobs, he's an innovator, a designer. He knew exactly what he wanted for his products, and of he wasn't afraid to tell you about it. He was a genius who had an uncanny ability to understand how humans worked, which which is a vital part of being a UX designer, to understand how humans really work. Okay. Now you probably see a couple of pictures, but I think the picture you'll be most confused by is the one in the middle, the wooden fence. Well, there's a story behind that actually. When Steve Jobs, when he was growing up, uh, he used to help his dad out a lot. Paul Steve, if I'm not mistaken. He used to help his dad out with almost everything. And one day, he was building a fence with his dad around their that I quote, "You got to make the back of the fence as good looking as the fence where people could see. Uh, then you will really know that you are dedicated and you are passionate about what you do." At that age stuck by him for the rest of his life. Steve Jobs went on to revolutionize the bridge between software and hardware, and resulted in many companies replicating that ideology and as well as making it better. Uh, Also, Steve Jobs has once said that this is very important to understand what it looks like. Understand what it looks like and what it feels like. It is how it works, the functionality behind it. This quote speaks volumes about why designing something well doesn't end at looking simple enough for a user like you and I to use. Um, Steve Jobs believed that good design was a key component of technological evolution. And I think that's where we should focus more today. How does the design I work on today affect the bigger picture, affect you as a user? In the world of uh, software, hardware, and everything in between, it's something hard to see that how a designer's work matters. Most of the time, designers are thought to be just designing random screens and just passing on to developers to develop. Most of the time, we are seen as graphic design. Like people sometimes don't know the difference between a graphic designer and a UX designer. Uh, but yeah, but uh, as time went on and as UX evolved, companies knew, as Lishni said, companies knew the importance of it and started adopting uh, those frameworks. Uh, Steve Jobs was known for his high standard of design, which he enforced across all the products at Apple. When he started off at Apple, he made the engineers who made the computers to make sure the inside looked as good as well as the outside, and he made them sign on the motherboards. Due to the reason, when they asked, he was like, a designer should acknowledge his work. So yeah, um let's move on. uh Donald Norman. uh I don't think many of you all will know him, but he's known to be the godfather of UX. And I don't think this will come as a surprise, but the term user experience probably came up at Apple, surprisingly, in the early 1990s. 1980s, and a young cognitive scientist who was pretty good with cognitive science, like how users interact with digital products, how when Apple decided to hire him, and he was probably the first person on earth to probably have a business card which states his designation as a UX architect. Uh, yeah, and so Don Norman actually started out in cognitive psychology, where he studied how humans interact with computers, how humans interacted with software. His work is greatly looked upon to this date, and a lot of individuals like our design team, like to many big companies from Google to Uber, they all adopt uh, his his studies on usability, how humans interact with computers, especially during the rise of personal computing. Like, we all have a mobile phone on our hands, we all use iPads, we all use tablets, we all use laptops. As as us humans got more access to technology, uh, more of his uh, more of his studies of usability study got applied onto that, and that's where UX became more of a mainstream thing where companies would look to perfect. Okay, let's go. Now you probably heard now probably have a clear idea what UX really is, and you're probably like, how do I become a UX designer maybe? And well, to be a UX designer, it's more than designing a few screens for a website or a mobile app or anything. Yep. And it's so deep into psychology that you're basically like the glue which sticks humans, like psychology and software together. So let me guide you through on how you could be a UX designer. Sorry. The first thing to do is to find out if UX is really for you. Uh, there's a common term in our industry that anyone could be a UX designer, but that that statement is quite true up to a limit, I guess. But since we have come this far, you probably have a general idea of what UX really is, and you still have no idea, but you still probably have no idea if it's for you and if you would enjoy a career in UX. Well, the good news is I'm going to shed some light on some resources where you could find out that for yourself. There's tons of resources online. There's introductory courses from Career Foundry on Coursera. You could really understand the root of UX, and then from there you could decide if it's really for you. And also, it would, if you're really intrigued by UX, it would be like a really good idea if you could talk to someone in the UX industry like us. Uh, we would love to talk about it, and from there you could really understand what we do on a daily basis, how we interact with clients, to how we translate those insights into digital products. Yes, so let's move on. I want to talk about a few soft skills of a UX designer. uh, Most of the soft skills I'm going to talk about, they're quite, we already have them as humans. It's probably already inbuilt in us. Some areas you might be strong, some areas you might not be, but uh, to be a UX designer, this is something I learned early in my career. To be a UX designer, it's a never ending process. Even if you have 20 years under your belt, it's always a learning process. You're always going to learn something new. It takes a great deal of understanding of humans, because at the end of the day, we design digital products for people. uh, every type of product has an end user. The very mobile app, the very applications on your mobile, they were, as Lishni said, they were designed by someone, and so yeah. uh, so the probably the most important is empathy. You outside of the box, you can actually train your brain to think outside of the box, and think from your user's point of view. You can put yourself in your user's shoes, and you can really understand what what are the problems they are facing, and how from there you could bring out insights and learn how you could meet those problems. uh, Empathy is the ability to understand what users feel and the emotions of others. You, you always, if it's a good thing, it always leads on to positive customer experience. That's why the best UX designers take time to learn about people, because UX, even though it's a job, it's like a career in a have a deep understanding of end users allows designers to create products end users because they need to meet your needs. Yes. Um Next one is communication. Another something we all have. We all communicate on a daily basis. Ever since we are young, we communicate. But it's a communication UX is an essential skill. Designers must convey product ideas, explain design thinking. You have to explain your thinking behind your design. You should be able to provide uh, an answer why you did something in a specific way. And also, as UX designers, we pretty much work with developers the whole time, like end to end. We got like a bunch of questions from developers, and we should be able to convey our designs. uh, yeah, so communication is essential in UX. Yeah, okay, let's go on for the next one. Collaboration, another important soft skill of a UX designer. When you're a UX designer, you usually work in teams. You always have a design team like we do, Rootcode Studio. We have an amazing team, to be honest. Yeah. Uh, so good, good UX design means incorporating the ideas of developers, clients, stakeholders. So that's where your collaboration skills as a UX designer really comes in. How you could take insights from different stakeholders, be it developers, clients, because end of the day, like Lishni said, you're building a product. You're trying to find that fine line in between. So collaboration skills is where it comes down to. And like I said, the best part of these soft skills is that they're already instilled in you, and it's even if you find yourself like as if you don't have them, you could train yourself to have them. Okay, let's move on. Okay. uh so I've listed out three courses to be exact, but there's more. These are courses where you could learn the principles of UX, especially if you're going to self-study. There's informal and formal ways. The stuff you want to learn in university. Uh, like I said, UX is a never-ending learning process. There's plenty of parts. There's plenty of ways where you could learn the foundations of UX. Uh, there are specialist courses such as the Google UX Design Certificate, which actually helps you set the foundation of what UX really is. And from there, it's all self-learning. You can build your knowledge on from there. And you have the Career Foundry UX Design Bootcamp, which is a 10-month intensive bootcamp which teaches you UX in and out. And the user experience research and design specialization by the University of Michigan. That too is also, it's more towards user research. Uh, but yeah, it's also a good starting point. Okay. Uh, Also, uh, to be a UX designer, it's a never ending process. What I mean by that is that there's all there's always that technology evolves, and so does humans. Our wants and needs as humans always change, and as UX designers, it's our responsibility to understand and learn that, and to make digital experiences to meet those demands. Okay, let's move on. Next, master a design tool. Now, this is where it comes interesting. Uh,
Hey guys, I think there's a small
I think with the current situation in Sri Lanka, Gaveen is experiencing a power cut, and we'll give him a few minutes to come back. If not, myself and Mino will take up the session and then we'll continue it. So, yeah.
guys. Is it possible? Can we move on with the presentation, or shall we give me a few minutes to come back? Since we also have another session right after this, would it be possible, like, to move on with the presentation?
Amish, if you'd be kind enough to grant me privileges to share my screen, I can take up the session and continue it.
Yes, sure. Lishni, hold on. Give us a minute.
Sure, no worries.
Yes, I think you can share screen now.
All right, let me take. Give me a second.
Ms. Lishni, I think you're on mute at the moment.
Lishni, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I think Ms. Lishni, you're on mute.
Okay. All right. You can hear me? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you. Cool.
Thank you so much. Okay. All right. So I'll pick up from where Gavin unfortunately had to leave. So he was talking to you about mastering a design tool. So for the UX designers or future UX designers, you don't necessarily have to, worry yourself or master a design tool per se, because the design tool doesn't define you. So it's the design process and how you think, how you empathize with the user. That's what defines you. But of course, mastering a design tool would have all of the added advantages. And at Rootcode Studio, we specifically use Figma mainly because of its collaboration features that Figma provides and all of the updates that come in. There are so many cool and fancy features that come in almost once in 2-3 months. And yeah, it helps so much with when it comes to the brainstorming sessions, to the research, to the solutions that we provide as a team. So other than that, of course, you see the other logos on screen. That's XD, Sketch. Different companies pick different tools. Some of the clients request for specific tools depending on how their development teams handle designs and design systems. But of course, it's totally up to you. All right, so design processes and strategies. So design processes. At Rootcode Studio, we go through the Google Design Sprints, and that is a 5-day design sprint, which is a lot of technicality to tell you about. But that's when within a project, when we get a task assigned to us, or when a feature is assigned to us within a product, we take a 5-day sprint to come up with the solution, and that goes through different processes. Uh, Different days have different things that we do to understand the problem, empathize with the user, understand the user, thereafter sketch, prototype, and thereafter go into testing, and thereafter it's handed over to the development. But these are, of course, processes that you will be exposed to when you get into a team, and strategies that you'll get to work on and think on when you are given certain problems. So, and yes, so for those of you who wish to become future UX designers, employability factors. So there are certain requirements that you need when you apply to become a UX designer. And some of the main things that you need is a really good CV, defining your skills, your capabilities, projects that you've worked on. And speaking of projects, there are certain platforms that allow you to maintain a portfolio. So a portfolio is where a UX designer um, can showcase their work. So Dribbble, Behance, or you can even choose to host your own website, which can give you a lot of exposure to. But platforms like Dribbble and Behance can also be used for idea generation as well. So you'd be able to see other designers, their work. You can critique them, and of course, you can create your own mood boards using these platforms. But yeah, again, technical jargon. But do try them out. And when you post work on your portfolio, it has to not only be just fancy design or just random things that you think that might look nice. It has to show your design process. This is how you thought about the problems, and thereafter here is the end result, and maybe you could even go into testing with some of your friends, and so and so, and thereafter show the final results as well. So these are the different platforms, and yeah, this will definitely help you with keeping your very first step and applying for a UX or UI UX design position. Alrighty. So there you go. That was the end of Gaveen's session, where he completed, an overall look about how UX came to be, and kind of like giving you an outline as to how you can become a great UX designer. So, handing it over, handing this virtual stage to Mino, and he will tell you all about the cool things that we do as UX designers on a daily basis. So yeah, there you go, Mino.
Yeah. Wait, let me just share my screen. Okay. I hope everyone can hear me. I'm Mino Gallawatta. I'm an associate UI UX designer at Rootcode Studio. I think most of you guys will find my story very relatable, because I'm coming from AIESEC. I was the digital experience manager for business development in AIESEC University of Monaco. And then I had actually no idea about what user interface and user experience design was, but kind of stumbled into it. I've always been kind of interested in the aesthetic side of things. I've been, as you can see behind me, a little bit of picking up something just because I want to try out kind of a guy. So UX is something like that. I just stumbled onto it, and I absolutely fell in love with it, because I had a degree in tech. I was doing a degree in tech, and also I had this aesthetic side which I love to combine, and this was an opportunity to do so. And I was like, this is actually something that I would like to do. And then I checked it out, absolutely fell in love with it, and I'm here to tell you about like what it's like to actually be a UXer. Now, Lishni talked a little bit about the fundamentals of UX and what UX actually is, what are the multiple types of UX processes and everything. Gaveen talked about the world of UX and how it came to be. So if you are a UX designer, this is one of the questions that I had when I was like even interviewing for Rootcode Studio to be an intern, where, okay, I'm a UX designer now. What do I do on a daily basis? And it's a lot about the people. As Rishi said, it's a job where we have to solve problems. So what we generally get is a problem to our design team for us to do a sprint on. And when we get the problem, we see it from a people perspective. We check out what the problem is, and we analyze it from every perspective, because we have a bunch of people. As she said, we'll talk about what brainstorming is. That's kind of what brainstorming is. It's a lot of brainstorming because we see it from multiple sides. We do these little exercises called crazy eights, rapid iteration, round robin thinking, and everything like that. Those you can explore in your own time and figure out. And we do those things through collaboration, as we have been reiterating throughout this presentation, that we get together as a team and we see it from as many perspectives as possible, and we design many solutions to those problems. And those solutions are not based on just assumptions or what we feel, what we think. No, because as designers, our job is to back our solutions with research. And that research could be primary research that we do ourselves through like asking our end users. End users are generally people who we are targeting our application or website to, our digital experience too. And we back them up using either statistical research, like secondary research that other people do, or through questionnaires that we ourselves do, through surveys and multiple types of user experience research. And after all of that backbone work is done, the back of the fence, like Gaveen said, of the Steve Jobs' fathers and his fence is done, then we go into the front side where we make the buttons bigger. That is a general misconception that people have. What UX designers do is they make the buttons bigger, they make it fancier. Yeah, we do that as well. But behind it, there's a lot of work that goes into it to make the decision of what the solution is. And it could be a diverse variety of solutions. It could be a new feature, it could be a whole overhaul, it could be a new standard, it could be a new feature, or something as simple as making a button bigger. Now that I think you guys have a good understanding about what the UX designer does on a day-to-day basis. This is pretty much what we do. We get a problem and we solve it using research and data and collaboration. Now let's talk about what kind of a career you can look at. So in terms of UX career, there are two types of general job roles. If you are this type of job role changes depending on what kind of a company that you're applying to. If it's a very large company like a Silicon Valley company, then you have a lot of options to specialize in just one field, which is a UX specialist. So what a UX specialist ideally is they have a very vertical skill set. So in UX, as we mentioned throughout, UX is a very multifaceted field. I'll talk about it in the future, as in this presentation as well, in the further down. It's a very multifaceted field. There's a lot of types of design, like Lishni mentioned. There's interaction design, motion design, UI design, and everything. So if you are an expert in one field and have some general knowledge on the other fields, but have a very big specialization on one specific one, you are a UX specialist. However, if you like to expand your horizons and learn pretty much all about what UX is, you are a UX generalist. So what I talked about with companies, if you're joining a startup or something like that, you'll probably have to be a UX generalist, because they don't allocate resources to have a multitude of specialists. So you get to expose yourself to all types of philosophies in UX and aspects of UX as well. So what are these specialist roles? You can either be a visual designer who likes to work on the visual aspect, the aesthetic appeal and the functionality of the website or the digital experience, or you can be a motion designer who does all the animation work, or an interaction designer as to, Lishni talked about TikTok. Who came up with the system of double tapping to like. Maybe Instagram came up with, maybe TikTok came up with it, but that little thing of where a user gets to interact with the digital experience, that part, that interaction was developed by interaction designer. You know, when you swipe from right on TikTok, you go to the individual profile, a little interaction, some things like that generally expands the user experience. An information architect, that is a person who defines the structure and how the information is laid out within a digital experience. A usability analyst does audits on how the software works. A UX writer only focuses on how the content is presented. A researcher works on just the research aspect of the design process. So likewise, there are multiple fields that you can pick and decide to become an expert in. Now, as I mentioned, if you're starting out, the ideal or the general scenario is that you'll be a generalist, because you don't really know what and how much of a depth UX has, how much of a width it has, right? So you want to explore all of these different areas of UX and figure out what you actually like, because that's what happens with most of the things, right? Because when we are kids, we learn all the subjects to figure out what subjects that we like, and then we pick some to do A levels, and then we pick another one to do a degree in. Likewise, UX is kind of a similar process. You choose a lot, you learn about a lot of these subjects, and then you pick one, you explore all specializations, and you either pick one to specialize in, or you can stay as a generalist. But then you have to become an expert generalist where you have an above average knowledge about every field. So you can be a consultant to, you can be like a knowledge hub and know everything, know a general knowledge about pretty much every aspect of UX. Now, we'll talk a little bit about, as I mentioned throughout, this is a very multifaceted and an area where there are a lot of fields that everyone can embrace. And this is kind of another misconception that people have, that UX is just websites, web apps, web software, or like just mobile apps. But this is not the case. There's a lot of other aspects that we're going to talk about. If you just kind of look around you, you'll see a lot of products. Maybe you'll see the PC, maybe you'll see like a laptop, maybe you'll see, let's say a mobile phone. If you have a smartwatch, you'll see that. If you have like a mouse with an interaction, you'll see that. If you have a drawing pad, you'll see that. All of these have software built into this, and all of these needs to define all aspects of UX and come up with, and you have to kind of come up with ways for users to properly interact with these interfaces so that they get the best experience out of them. Now we see when with the invention of the smartwatch, it came into being very long time ago before Apple did it. But when people designed a watch, which is also a smart device, they ventured into a new paradigm of design. Previously, people were used to interacting with products in a different way, but watches brought to life a much more heavy, a heavier understanding, a heavier push on gestures, and things like the gyroscope was used to do that. And all of these interfaces were made small and made more clear. The clarity was implemented to ensure that people can actually interact with such a small surface. And all of these were specifically thought out by UX designers to make sure this worked. And if you look at a plane, this is like going from a watch. This is an extremely complicated and a very complicated interface, right? Coming from something simple as a watch. But similarly, something like this has also the software that is used in even in a plane that you might travel in has been designed by a UX designer. Same with, like, if we take a Tesla, same if we take like a medical equipment that doctors interact with. So the way that people interact with it, as I mentioned, is not just keyboard and mouse either. The most common is a touch interface. Or if you play console games, or if you play games on the computer, you might use a controller, or you might use motion gestures, or you might even use your voice to address Siri, Google Assistant, Amazon Echo Dot, Google Home, everything like that. So there are different ways of interfacing as well. All of these are also designed by UX designers. This is why I'm saying that UX is multifaceted. However, there are multiple goals of software as well. So all of these software, the goal of these softwares was to make life easier and to get the user to the end journey. That is, okay, if you are using a phone to answer a call, the end of the journey ends where you answer the call successfully and you cut it. But let's say a game. What is the goal of a game? The goal of a game would be, to have fun. But if we think in mainstream UX principles, there would be a huge red button in the middle says finish game. And if you press on it, you're done with the game. But that provides no enjoyment to the user. So the entire mainstream UX principles, some of the mainstream UX principles doesn't apply when it comes to games. Maybe offering the user no UI whatsoever would increase the immersion in the game. So UX designers in games fields have to think very differently about what the user want to achieve and think in that way. When it comes to mixed reality, that is like augmented reality and virtual reality, things like that, those have to be thought out in a very different way as well. Because, okay, if the plane is 2D, I know in the top left corner is where the person would look the first. So we place something that has a higher level of importance there. But what if the world itself is a canvas? Where do I place the button then? Or do I place buttons at all? And these are the questions that UX designers who work in mixed reality solve, virtual reality and augmented reality. And in terms of philosophies as well, Lishni mentioned that we follow the human-centered design philosophy. But this is also evolving how we think about people, where I'm sure you might have seen things like your digital health. Most of the OS manufacturers are now including them with their operating systems. So your screen time is tracked. You can lock an application and have a specific time period. We think of users, the people behind the screen, not just as users, but as humans who have their own interests, who have their own lives. We don't want them to come crawling back at our application and just treat them like a click. We want to treat them like humans. We want to treat them like we value them, and we want to offer actual usefulness rather than just be a part of their life and take over their life. And that's kind of human experience design. Accessible and inclusive design deals with treating every community with an equitable eye, including everyone in the conversation when it comes to research, when it comes to development, when it comes to design, ideation, everything, and making sure that everyone in the world can access a digital product. UX and AI is another field that we love to work in. We work with Rootcode AI, our artificial intelligence branch, and we talk about things like how do we design a chatbot that has intelligence, and what would be the ideal scenario, what would be an ideal conversation, designing a conversation and conversation paths with related to AI, and what kind of content gets delivered to a person, let's say in TikTok. All of these decisions were made by designers, by UX designers, in collaboration with artificial intelligence teams. And that is also another philosophy and another paradigm of UX. So the gist of this is that there's something for everyone in UX, regardless of what your interest is. This is such a large field, and it's so large that there's something for everyone. So what can you do? Because I mean, at the end of the day, within this hour or so, we can't explain every facet of UX or the depth of UX as well. So what can you do as a student, as someone who's interested in tech, someone who's interested in UX? Well, explore as much as you can, learn as much as you can, and learn about all the aspects of UX, and also put yourself out there and expose yourself to multiple facets of UX to see what you would like. Also, we are now on the lookout for extraordinary talent. So if you feel like if you are interested in UX, we are offering internships right now, and just drop us an email at hello@rootcode.studio. And if you would love to join us, even if you have no previous backgrounds, previous experience, learn on your own, prove to us that you are actually a person who wants to get into UX, and you'll get an internship. Also, feel free to drop us a message. Our names are here. Feel free to drop us a message, and we'll love to talk to you, because we are always interested in developing the UX scene of Sri Lanka. And yeah, let's see if you guys have any questions. Okay, thank you very much. I think we can move on to the Q&A.
Yes, thank you very much. I mean, that was really, really insightful. So I think we have a bunch of questions from our audience. We have actually a really big one from Facebook. So it goes as, how does the whole UI UX design process work from start to finish? Like who approaches you? How are the concepts turned into products? And like, do they often differ from the initial concept?
Okay. Yeah, wow, that will take a lot of time to give you an answer, but yes. So when a client comes in with a requirement, we usually do an entire workshop because the client usually comes to us with their need, their business's need, right? But sometimes they've not really thought about the end consumer, like the end consumer of the product. So we do workshops with all of the stakeholders, few developers, designers, stakeholders from the client's end, stakeholders from our end, project managers, and so on. And we sit together for maybe 2 hour sessions, 2 days, and with so many coffee breaks. And yeah, we discuss everything with them. And then we pinpoint the actual problem that we have to solve. And we come up with, solutions that we think might work. And then we walk them through these solutions. We take in their ideas, we generate more problems through these, and yeah, we ultimately come to a conclusion. And then we go into wireframing stages, more brainstorming within the team itself. We then build high fidelity wireframes, which are very equivalent to designs that you see. And yeah, we go into usability testing. So that's when we get the actual answer as to whether if we have addressed the problem that we were supposed to address. And thereafter, we hand off everything to the developers after everything is reviewed, double checked. Stakeholders do their checking on their end, and it goes into development. So this is not, it doesn't happen in a step-by-step process. It iterates so many times, and there are so many times that I can't even wrap my head around where the client comes in and says, "We want the solution done yesterday." But yeah, it takes a lot of time. And the amount of time that we put into the research, the amount of time that we put into solving the actual problem, gives a really good end product, which doesn't have to go into a lot of iteration even when it goes into development, because we've already sorted the problem. Yeah, we've seen it before it happens, and then we've addressed it. So there you go.
So,
That's how
thank
it
you very much.
happens.
Thank you very much, Lishni. I think yeah, that answered our question like the best possible way within a time.
Oh,
So we also have another question from Facebook. So it goes as, I'm in QA right now and I would like to proceed to a UI career. Would be any suggestions or advices?
all right. Okay. So you are already. I can't give you a proper answer to that because I don't know in like how far in QA that you've actually gone to. Yeah, but I can straight off give you an answer. If you have the passion and if you have the soft skills, like if you empathize with the user, if you are an creature inside, and if you have the passion to design, yes, you can take the courses that Gaveen already mentioned in his session. I personally recommend the Google UX certificate. I've already told my entire team to equip themselves with this certificate because trust me, it's the best window for you to learn the basics, the fundamentals, to everything along the process of design, and to even become one of the greatest UX designers. So yes, you can if you have the will to it, and if you have the creativity, passion, empathy, everything. And yeah, I think so. I myself switched careers from software engineering to becoming a UX designer because I found my passion in design. And that was midway through my career. I totally understood this in my internship. And I did so much of work. And it was a lot of work to get into UX design. And during my time, it wasn't exactly, out there. UX design wasn't, a major thing that we can actually, do some certification and get into. The opportunities were less, but now the opportunities are so much more. There, you can be a self-taught UX designer. So yes, go for it. Why not? Mino, have anything to add to it?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think like in terms of like switching careers, I think your switching career paths, your advice is very fruitful. But in terms of an action plan, I think like, yeah, if you have solidly made the decision that you want to switch, then getting some sort of foundational education in either through the Google course or something else, and then showing proof that you have actually worked for that your UX background, and okay, let's say you have a portfolio now solidly, and then after that, just actually putting yourself out there and going to interviews helps a lot, because the people in the interviews will offer you actual actionable feedback, and they'll be like, okay, do this, and we might consider you next time, and they'll actually offer you insight from the UX perspective to what you can do to get the job, and you can add those things into your repertoire and actually develop yourself and go to the next interview. And if you do go in that path, I think it's definitely a possible thing to actually switch.
Yes, thank you very much. So I think we have one more small question from YouTube. So you guys mentioned that you guys do a lot of cool things as UI UX designers. So what would be like the what would be like the most exciting part of your day and also the most exhausting, like from like a day to day basis? Like small answers you could get.
Okay. Okay, most exciting part for me is okay. This is going to be very different answers from Mino and myself. So for me, the most exciting part is when I attend client meetings. So that consumes a majority of my day, where I talk to clients, make them understand things that we can do, things that we take in for a sprint, problems that they discuss with me, and solutions that I have to give. These are super exciting because every day is a new problem and every day is a new solution for me. And I have to think real fast as well. And that is also, sadly, the most exhausting part for me because my brain goes through like, it would literally smoke through my ears if it can. That's the kind of exhaustion. So, yeah, but for me, no, might be a bit different.
I kind of have a similar answer where okay, so I'll phrase it like this: the most exciting part is when I get a problem and everything is blank. Okay, do whatever you want, and it's really exciting, right? Because then you can talk with your team, do your research, and there's a blank canvas, and you can do whatever you want, build whatever you want, and that's really exciting. And that's also like the most exhausting. Where okay, I don't have anything. What do I do? Like I have a similar experience, like love hate relationship with that, where it's really exciting as to what direction that I can go in and talk to people about, and also solve this problem in, and also like when you have no progress but you're just thinking, that is also a little bit exhausting. That's kind of my answer as well.
Similar to writers, we also go through designers blocks as well. So sometimes it's mostly because client constraints, like they say, you have to decide with it this thing, and we have to stick to it. And sometimes it's the other way around. It's all blank, and then we are just stuck there. Both of them are equally exciting and equally, yeah, exhausting as well.
Also, like I have to mention, like another very exciting thing is getting to work with something that you have never worked with, like
Yes.
something like designing a conversation. So that is extremely exciting. Like we got to work with Rootcode AI about a conversation chatbot. That is extremely exciting because okay, I've never even thought about doing a design like this. So how do I go about it? And there's a huge learning curve. There's a lot that you have to learn, and then a very different paradigm that you have to think in, and that's very exciting when such projects come.
Mm.
Okay, I think that's great. And so thank you for your questions, everyone. I think we were able to answer it within the limited time constraint. So that brings us to the end of our session on UI UX designing. We would like to express our deep gratitude to all the three speakers from Rootcode Studio. I'm sure our audience learned a lot about UX UI designing that they never knew before. Thank you, Mr. Mino, Mr. Gaveen, and Ms. Lishni. We will be back very
It
soon,
was
guys, for another session about visual effects conducted by one of the biggest VFX artists in the world. See you there.
All right, man. I can't hear you, Lishni.
I think we'll drop out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Bye then.
Bye bye.